on motivation. That we know as psychologists that being really mean to yourself, you know, if I am so fat, I need to work out and lose weight. I failed that test, how dare I do that? I better study. I don't know about you all, but I'm going to go take a nap. I'm going to go eat some popcorn and watch a movie instead of studying for that test or instead of letting the other people wish it. So actually beating yourself up and being really mean, research has shown and supported that is actually very unmotivating and will lead to more unhealthy behaviors. So it's a little bit paradoxical to think that by loving yourself, even when you're obese, even when you are a large person, by accepting yourself where you're at, that can actually allow you to have more motivation to make healthier choices and get out and move your body.
I feel that sexism not only affects people who are obese, but also people who are considered skinny. I work in retail, and every day when women come in and tell me that they're skinny or considered obese, they look at me and think that I can't help them because I'm too small. But it's also not a choice for myself because I'm a thyroid disorder. And my metabolism works faster than others might. It's not a choice to be skinny, it's not a choice to be any size. I think it's a war on women or bodies in general. It's not just about how you look, it's just
It's not just a women's issue.
yeah,
And I hope you caught my subtle message that sizeism is prejudice against people based on their size, not necessarily being a large size. Although I do think being fat in this society has unique elements, and being thin, even though you may be discriminated against and experience some really yucky things, that there's not an institutional background that is supporting that and making life more difficult. Where for overweight people, that's very much the case.
Do y'all are y'all familiar with that idea of institutionalized discrimination? An example might be something like how many of you get on an airplane? And the seats are pretty small, right? Where even an average sized person isn't fit. And so that's an example of how maybe society, our world that we live in here, perhaps doesn't necessarily state the value, although sometimes they do. There are messages such as small airplane seats or maybe furniture that's flimsy, sends a message that if this can't hold you or you can't fit in the seat, then you're being out. So that's sort of just to kind of discuss a little bit about what we mean by that.
Which is not to say that being on the other extreme of that and getting comments because you're skinny is not hurtful and is not valid and that that's okay. It's not okay.
I knew something was
Yeah.
Going back to the previous user with the woman that lost weight, she lost 150 pounds. Is that typical? And if you're trying to lose weight, or would that be, so would that weight come back if you lose it way too fast?
Yes.
If you are trying to lose weight and eat better, how do you start? Because I know that I am around with current food and it's not someone that's current. So it's kind of like if you're trying to lose weight, like how do you set yourself up to start doing that? Because that whole switch is kind of just like.
Well, I think the first thing is like realizing like, yes, like what we eat should be good. Like we should enjoy it. But what we eat should also be healthy for our bodies. And like fried foods are a good example. Like that's not going to do anything good. And it's not that you need to eliminate them completely, because I'm pretty against like eliminating the entire food group, so much food or vegetables or something. But like, what nutritional value are you getting from fried foods? You're more probably
moderation. So it's one of those. So
Because again, you still talk about fried chicken or what else can you fry?
Anything fried.
I mean, so yeah, so those are good foods, but you may try to find other ways of preparing them.
Yeah.
So I mean, but if you like it fried, I mean, fry it every once in a while. That's not the end of the world. I don't think it's fried foods that make us heavy.
processed foods. So all the snacks that aren't fruits and vegetables, I mean, if it didn't come off the tree or off the ground or from the farm, I mean, you got it on the shelves. So your goal when you go to grocery stores, high top folks, is to just start with an idea. How you may want to make some healthier choices is to stay on the periphery of the store. Go into fruits and vegetables, go into the bakery, you get a real loaf of bread that's heavy, not that puff bread that's fluffy stuff that's whole grain, whole wheat, that's all junk. If it's on the shelf, it's just puff bread. It's just so full of, and half of them have corn syrup in them, and they just have very little nutritional value. So go to the bakery, get a real loaf of bread like your grandma used to make. Okay? Into the dairy section, mainly, you can tolerate it, meats, lean meats, and out of the store. I mean, don't just start going up and down those aisles, all that dark stuff, all that processed stuff, that's where you start getting into trouble. So learning some healthier, cooking habits. Again, if you fry the chicken every once in a while, I think that's okay. But again, choosing your snacks right, more fruits and vegetables and not granola bars. They can say their diet and their diet dressing. Go on, get some vinegar and oil. Lots of vinegar, different kinds of oils, all different flavors, seasonings.
Let me address the weight loss side, if that's okay. We don't, any drastic changes that we make to our bodies in general will result against it every step along the way. We're very adaptable creatures in that we can survive in extreme conditions. So am I capable of losing a large amount of weight in a short amount of time? Sure. And I always tease, when somebody goes, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds real fast. I'm like, well, that's easy, chop off your head. How fast do you want to lose the weight? And what's the goal here? Because that's really what I'm trying to get them to think about. What's the goal here? What's the intention behind the question? And it's okay to have things happen slowly. It's frustrating because we live in a culture where we want it right now. We want it right now, and anytime I can turn on the TV and somebody is going to counter what I'm saying tonight and is going to tell you on some infomercial that you can have it right now for $19.99 or whatever the fill in the blank price is. But once you learn what I always encourage students to do is start educating yourselves about how our bodies really work. And once you start learning and seeing food that while it's a great enjoyment, it should be an enjoyment of life, there's also a process. There is a point to food. There's a point to activity. And once you learn the fundamental that the body doesn't like making drastic changes quickly, then it actually, for me, is a relief. Because I can make small choices and I can enjoy and embrace the successes of those small choices. And if I have a day where I'm going to have 4 chocolate chip cookies, which was by the way yesterday, guess what? I go to sleep, I wake up, it's a new day. And these bodies of ours are adaptable. They're flexible. It's about consistency over time. But I also have to throw it out there, because that girl is a great example of if I don't examine my intention in all of this. Meaning, if I have students, and we all know this is true because we tease at the fitness center that from January to about March 10th, it's the countdown to spring break. And we're packed in there. Why? Because everybody thinks they need to look a certain way when short season comes up. It's a short-term motivation, short-term goals that have long-term consequences. If I could be okay with the idea that, you know what, I'm going to start putting things in my body because this is ultimately what my body needs and craves. And I'm going to start moving because as I learn more about my body, I learned that we were fundamental creatures made to move. We don't do well with a lack of movement. Then I get benefits along the way. I do start to lose weight. I do start to tone up. But I get many more benefits that never get talked about. I have a lot more energy. My attitude generally is better. It's been linked to doing better scholastically because we're feeding the brain. There are so many consequences to healthy choices. It goes so much beyond what I look like on the outside that once I embrace that, then I'm going to start seeing benefits. Because if my only motivation going in there is I need to be a size blank, can you see how we set ourselves up for failure? Because if I cannot attain that, I have failed. I don't embrace the success of every other thing that I did well along the way. I look for one thing that I decided I didn't accomplish. It's so self-destructive. So that's what I will preach as long as they let me here at TWU. Consider your intentions. And if we can help you make those healthy choices, I promise you the positives come with it. But we have to be willing to acknowledge that sometimes our intentions set us up to fail.
I would say you've got to find your why. Like, more often than not, your why is going to be really different. Like, if you're a mom, you might be getting around for your kids, or if you're not a mom, then you might not get your dad, you might be getting around for your kids, or whatever. Or it might be part of your friends or your family. So you've got to identify that reason deep down inside why you want that. Because if you don't, if you say, I don't know who's weight, and the first time you step on that scale, and that scale has gone up instead of down, because you started to gain muscle mass before you lose fat, you're going to say, this isn't doing anything, and you're going to go back. And it's those small little steps every day that gives you what you want to do.
I want to speak just a little bit sort of to the mental health sort of emotional economy aspect of this too, because I think that choices of your why is so important. But also, if I ask you to not think about it right there, what do you think about? If an image comes into your mind, it's very hard to shake it out. And so if there's a mindset of I can't have this or I can't do that, what do we want? To do that or to have that? And so it's about taking a look at what are you thinking, how are you thinking about maybe what you're going to do. Because if it's about deprivation, denying yourself something, then what's going to end up is that there's going to be triggers where you sort of go all out, right? And then that can make someone feel really guilty. I know that from personal experience. So think of it as how can we use the things that we do in the world potentially as good works, as something that isn't going to make or break your process or your progress on the way. So I want to really talk a little bit about examining thinking. What would you tell yourself lately? And then how might that actually impact you negatively in saying, I think I can feel because maybe this is how I've done this thing, or this is how I've been different places today.
It's also with the psychological, emotional element of that. You've done a good job of talking about the why are you going to try to get healthy and maintain this. I would also encourage all of us to think about the why of choosing the giant loaf of bread and the pumpkin chocolate. And that emotional eating is a thing. And I can speak from personal experience that I had oral surgery a month ago and had to go on a liquid diet. And I was so cranky because I couldn't have my grilled chicken and the bread and the chocolate. I couldn't have that, literally. And that was a huge light bulb for me about how food really is comforting. I've had a long day, and when I was in graduate school, I didn't do well on the exam. Let's go to Chili's and get the people with it. Because food in our culture, we use it to celebrate, we use it to feed, we use it to soothe ourselves, and I'm certainly that. And I think that has huge implications where when you get that, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, so I'm going to eat this food, that becomes very automatic. It's coming from me that I wasn't even aware of the extent to which food is comforting to me. And finding other ways of comforting yourself and other ways of feeling life is really important. Really important. So, there's
Well, I've never asked her so I don't think it's all hard to that she was just obese with all majors and all. But I've never actually listened to people for sharing. How have you getting motivated? What initially got you on this bandwagon to dancing and kind of like helping this feeling? Well, as far as like group fitness and group exercise, do you want me to start from like the very, very beginning? Okay. I mean, I've never asked you how you, what was the, okay, so I was always a little bit overweight in school. I wasn't that overweight. But I came from a very small school. I graduated with about 45 people. And it was a K through 12 grade school. I came from 7th grade. So needless to say, I was not very popular because most of them had been together since kindergarten. So I never felt like really accepted. So I found it hard to accept myself. And I mean, as a teenager, I'm that was kind of so I got to college. I gained, I don't know, like it's been so many years now. I gained a lot of weight. I remember going home and my mom was like, "Are you okay?" Like she was really worried about me. And so I started losing weight. And at first I started out very healthy. Well, then I started to develop an eating disorder. And no one knew. I am very good at hiding things. I'm one of those people. And so I did it for a couple of years. Thankfully, it was never severe enough to medically cause me damage. And I was able to talk to some people and get back on the right track. It took years and years and years. And even so more than damaging my body per se, it really damaged my mind a lot. The psychology of eating disorders, it's not necessarily that there's a whole lot more to that. Then I came to TWU, and by then I had pretty much, I had resolved, and I was back on, I was living healthy, and I became involved in group exercise here. And I was taking group classes, and I started going, she was like, "Oh, classes all the time." She's like, "Yeah, the certification, you should get certified." First I was like, "No, I'm the one in the back row." I was like, I fell the other day in class. I was like, I felt blood on my blood. I was like, I could never get there and teach. She was like, "No," she's like, "No, just teach another way, just come." So I got certified, and I guess after that I kind of got the bug. So I started teaching, and I teach a lot of different things. But I started running, and I've been running for a while now, and I love it. And one of the things that I think I love most about running is because I go to these races, and you see people of all different shapes and sizes. I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing. And sometimes I like have their shirt, like they'll have their story on their shirt. There was one guy that I ran with this past weekend. He had a quadruple bypass just like a year ago or something, and he was running the half marathon, his first half marathon. And it's amazing. And that's, I think, partly how I stay motivated. And I'm not saying that it's always easy, because it's not going to be, but I think for me, knowing that I never would go back to that place where I was, because that was the place for it. And so I think for me, that's motivation.
And I think that's so important to have, kind of going back to your question about how do you do this. Having a support system is so vital to that. Having someone who can talk about the emotional aspects of why you're eating, why you're thinking about maybe not thinking about food as fuel, or thinking about the goal as and the excited being healthy. Having people with positive mindsets around you is supportive. Get people on the mind.
So, the words that is getting, of course, are extremely ambiguous. They can mean, low fat, I weigh about 170 pounds, I'm 6 foot something, or I'm skinny and quit. Is there what kind of realistic definition could y'all give to the word fat and skinny? And also, is there a healthy medium between fat and skinny?
So I think the words are pretty ambiguous for a reason. It's like, I use this as an example, looking at, what does that mean? I don't know. me what it means. Okay. But so they are ambiguous because I can wake up one morning and say, man, I feel fat. So there's not a good definition for most people. There is a definition, and we look at BMI, for example, which is body mass index, and it gives you, we look at your height and weight to give you a healthy weight indicator. BMI is not the gold standard because you can be extremely fit. Take bodybuilders, for example, lots of rippling muscles that I will never have, right? But for their BMI, is very it shows them that it's unhealthy. Okay, so BMI is not the gold standard. It's better to look at body fat percentage and things like that to see whether it's going to be that healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like much of our vocabulary. We have words that are loaded. They're deliberately have loaded meaning, and it's really easy to use these terms that we all think that we know the definition of. But really, if we all wrote down on paper how we defined it, we probably have 25 different versions because it's relative. It's relative to culture. It's relative to my past upbringing and what I've been taught. It's relative to whether those words are part of my vocabulary or not. So in that respect, it's just like a number of words that we could use that are vague for that very reason, so that they can be used for us or against us depending on the context. It's just getting back to, and I will be very honest, our industry is at times horrible at it because commercialism drives decision making at times, and the fitness industry is sometimes some of the worst people in that they are promoting all the wrong things. And that would be a huge red flag from my perspective, that if you had somebody who had my degree or my background who was preaching like that, you need to go find someone else, because we define healthy much broader than that. We don't use fat, skinny. We use terms lean body mass. We have fat that is essential. Systems in our body start shutting down without fat. You can't compare males to females because we have essential fats in our body that help us regulate our reproductive system. You know, there's so much to it, but more important to that, when we look at the components of fitness, kinesiology 101, body comp is 1 of 5. And again, it's the whole idea of putting it in perspective. It's too bad none of us go around and compare each other based on flexibility. Oh, did you see Sarah? She's so flexible. She's so flexible. Yet that's a component of fitness. There's nothing in a kines class that says, by God, percent body fat is more important than muscular endurance. It's just the one our culture likes to focus on. So that's kind of my response to that question.
So they're like a vague medium of skinny and fat and skinny. Because, of course, when we think of skinny, we think of play. And when we think of fat, of course, we think of fat. Is there anything in the middle, like a vague word in the middle?
You know, I don't know if there's a word, but I guess I would encourage you to think about how it's not holistic. And to go to your doctor, and rather than looking at the number on the scale, look at what you can do, look at how flexible you are, how far you can walk or run, how you feel, what your numbers say. Are you pre-diabetic, or all these different things. To look at your cholesterol and use that to judge if you're in the middle or maybe you need to be. And I really also appreciate that you brought up this use of language, because I've been very aware of sharing with you all that I identify as a fat woman. And I think I'd like to kind of clarify my very intentional use of that language. That's okay. It's not. Then you've ever heard of the idea of reclaiming language? For groups that have been historically prejudiced against, and being a large person is one of those categories. And for me, using the word fat as an identifier, it's sort of trying to break the silence and say this isn't a taboo thing, and I'm not bad, and I'm not unhealthy because of very different for me to say I identify as a fat woman than it depends on my friend and colleague and say, oh, Carrie, I'm so fat, which is implying this very negative sort of self-deprecating. But I don't really think has to go along with that belief. And I think it's important.
I don't think there is a good one. Great thing to know.
Well,
I don't even want to say normal or average because what is that?
So it's like you're either on one radical scale of the spectrum, you're either skinny or fat, right?
Yeah, we're not.
There's a range, again, so, if you look at it from, averages, alright, so the common measure that we use in, body weight, probably would be, the body mass index. And yet, we all know that it has its limitations, yet it's been the standard for so long, and people are still trying to figure out how to measure that. I've seen lately, rather than saying that the goal, and this is how narrow it was, is the goal was that it's supposed to be around 20. They've actually increased it now to a range. So someplace between a little bit below 20 to maybe up to 40%, may be considered normal. I think for women that's reasonable. I mean, we know that, and again, to compare, the women to the men, they do have different scales. But I also would caution you, one of our my buds over here suggested talking to the doctor. I'm going to caution you with that. I'm going to tell you honest to goodness truth. Most docs don't know squat about weight, about nutrition. So you can talk to your doctor if you feel that you're supported by your doctor, that you're being encouraged positively, then that's okay. But if you feel like your doctor's telling you you're fat, and making you feel unworthy, you know, that's just unacceptable. And so that to me is the key thing with talking to the doctor and again the concept of what overall makes us healthy. I mean, I go by how do you look, how do you feel? Are you moving? Are you able to do the things that you want to do? And if you can do that and you look healthy, then you're probably within your range of healthy.
Everyone has, there's a semen here, right? So everyone has access to her. And I know from personal experience, everyone, if you need a good doctor, then you should go see her.
I think there's so much misinformation that, again, even your well-intentions, if you're working with a doctor who has their own prejudices, I mean, I can't tell you, I have colleagues that, an overweight person walks in and all the negatives and the prejudices, and it's sad, but we're human, and that's just how it goes. So the key thing, because I always talk about it, my goal is to try to educate you, at least get you thinking. I mean, I don't have all the answers, I don't pretend I have all the answers, but I want you to at least think for yourself, listen to your body, and recognize if I'm not feeling well, then I need to do something different about that. And you have control to a certain degree. But if you have somebody to talk to about your health and be respectful, that's really crucial. So if we're trying to kind of you have to find a job,
ask the question because genetically, I'm familiar with genetics. We're really blood muscular, and me and my two other cousins are the same size. We're usually like our diameter is like a little bit bigger than other people, but all of my cousins and athletes, my other cousins are so as well. And it's like we have bone bodies, like you have like the. It's like
he's telling you you're overweight,
or I don't know. Other people can. I haven't. Any of us. I don't think we ever talked about it, but it's like we don't have that much like fat going around that could be construed as overweight, and that's kind of like the that's where I wanted to go with between the medium between skinny and.
Well, those are labels, and they
Yeah.
are concrete. I mean, and anytime somebody puts a label on you, there's usually some level of shame on their part. Well, that's what you. I mean, that's not really what that's intention, but I think a lot of it has to deal with shame, and not necessarily you, but other people putting that on you.
going to feel better about where to be about themselves. You get to choose your way back. You get to choose how you accept that.
Oh, and we do focus on labels that are based on appearance, especially size. You know, that little skinny girl, you know, whatever it may be. And so think about maybe even for yourself how that kind of language can create that social comparison of I'm not that much. And so I think the beauty, one of the many elements of beauty about these images are that they use words like bold and spontaneous or artistic to describe in a position of power these poses. And so challenging ourselves, how might we use our language differently so that we are not only disempowering others even if they don't know, but in turn empowering ourselves and allowing us to think about what our strengths are. Something to marinate on.
Are there any, I know that you didn't get a training on campus, but are there any more sort of like, either free or cheaper alternatives to talk about nutrition and how we should live our daily lives? Because, I mean, I was going to ask a question to the fun that I did with the doctor that took all my vital signs and everything and was like, look, you don't have diabetes, oh, you don't have high blood pressure. I was technically healthy because that's not what was wrong with me. But she continued to tell me about fat and stuff. Yeah, that's what. And I mean, it's really great because I'm an enormous.
We actually have a great resource here. It's called Institute as well. And for $40, you can get resting metabolism check, you can get your cholesterol levels checked, you can get blood sugar screening, they do a DEXA scan, which is like your exact body mass, like it's as technologically advanced as you can get, as well as an osteoporosis screening. And nutrition consultation.
Yeah, what's even more valuable is you have them as a resource for nutritional consultation. It's actually a sister dietitian who gives suggestions, and they live in the world of the college campus. So we get that you're moving from point A to point B, you need things that are expensive and portable. They live in that world, and Sarah and some of the graduate students that come through that program, it's an excellent resource. It's an HDB in human development. I encourage anybody to take advantage of it.
You have access to student health, it's $15 comes in with the deal for most people, but I know there's some struggle for some folks. But again, if you can work on it, like for folks, if you want to talk to me about diet plans for summers or healthier lifestyles, again, that's what we're looking at is healthy lifestyles, not diet. Really a lot. What do you do in a typical 3 days? The 3 days doesn't have to be but the 3 days you eat with your drink, people that realize how hard it is to eat drinks. And then any boundaries, because I've been influenced that also. And if you bring that kind of information to me, then we can kind of talk and give you some suggestions and work on it. Because it is a work in progress. It's not a diet, it's not going to be something short term. It's something I want people to learn and adjust to basic now. Counseling is available on some reasonable cost.
Great.
6 sessions, right?
Well,
So yeah, and the educational stuff, so nice, great sex talk on this. But watch your student health center and see what kind of great programs that some of these students do such a great job with that. That there's lots of opportunities that you can happen to in the fitness and rep, the group sessions and all those educational things.
And I think the standard of care for is to have a tripod approach when you're working on holistic health. And if the issue that we're coming up with we're getting more towards the disordered eating spectrum, part of what we as psychologists do is to work with the mental health aspect and to have the tripod approach where you have a nutritionist, a doctor, and a therapist. And that's really the best way have holistic mind-body change. Because it is such a process and needs such a support system. So we have a lot of services here at low cost for we're already including these fees, which check us out. And we can always give you additional resources if you need.
But they're saying that I don't make results. They're great at giving you foods to eat. Maybe like seafood stuff, that's what you eat. Or the underground stuff that you should be eating. Because I went there and she gave me stuff that I could be eating to help me with my weight whatever. And maybe it was and it would be very great.
I really like the idea of kind of a multidisciplinary approach. And again, that's the fun part about college is kind of be on the outside in and look at our culture, and it's okay to see the things that we can value and the things that sometimes are critical. One of the things about our culture is we separate the mind and the body all the time. This is cognitive, I need to study for a test, and this is all about up here. And then there are other times I'm going to go work out at the fitness center, and this is just about fitness and my body. Science does not support that at all. The way what's going on up here will cause physical symptoms here. If this is not healthy, it will absolutely reflect here. And so recognizing that I need to take a multidisciplinary approach is just our way of saying, hey, there's a connection here. And I cannot assume that if I make changes, if I add exercise to my routine, and I'm really not used to doing that there's not going to be some things I need to consider up here. It's definitely integrated. You're going to be more successful with the number.
And I think that resonates with me so much, that idea that what's going on internally, emotionally, affects so much your cognitive abilities and your physical health. And just to put a little nugget out there if you want more information about this, Google the term self-objectification. It's this idea of we live in a secular objectifying culture that treats especially women as objects to be looked at and so on and so forth. And that being in this culture, breathing this air, especially as women, we internalize this idea of treating ourselves as things, rather as the way I look to other people, rather than being ambitious, spontaneous, intelligent, all these other qualities that we are. And the research shows some very serious, very real consequences, cognitive, that we're not as able to perform well on cognitive tasks, like a test, that we experience depressive symptoms and anxiety and other mental health impacts when we feel so awful about ourselves. And I think it affects our physical health overall when we are thinking so negatively. So I hope that's motivating for all of us to start to practice some compassion about ourselves.
Well, kind of speaking on that topic, I've had some people say to me, I just can't go to the gym, I'm too overweight, everyone would look at me. I think that's really sad. If you feel that way, start where you are, start walking. I mean, I know it's obviously not the best winter for walking outside. It's about to be spring. But and to just realize that if someone says something to you or looks at you, I mean, I would have prayed that that wouldn't happen, but yet this is the college campus, or even wherever you are. That's not about you, that's about them. There's something in them that feels that way. So I know it's hard not to take that in, but try to realize and separate. Feel sad for them because they're obviously hurting. There's something is not sitting right with them. And I think that goes right along with the cognitive things. That, that's all connected.
We're about out of time. That does not mean that these resources go away. We're here this evening. We're here at work all